Hey everybody, it's really great to be back and chatting about another book today. Today's book is called The Big Leap, and the core concept behind this book was fascinating for me to wrap my head around, and I hope it'll be the same for you. It's one of those concepts that will stick around for me as I try to understand how it can be applied to various situations. The premise behind this book is the upper limit problem. It proposes that we as humans are somewhat used to struggling. We are used to feeling scared about things, anxious, or even sad. Furthermore, sometimes when we achieve success on many levels of our lives, it almost feels too good for us. Those feelings that we are used to, like fear, anxiety, or sadness, are not around. And because we're used to feeling those negative feelings, we think something is wrong or possibly too good to be true. So when we're in a state of success, we may look for problems around us or even make problems so that we're brought back to a level that we are used to. The author says that there's no reason why we can't be functioning at our highest, and he will help us fully understand the upper limit theory so that we can do that. The author is Hendricks, and he's a psychologist, writer, and teacher of personal growth. He is especially knowledgeable in the field of relationships, which is interesting, and it's up to you to decide as you move through the ideas in this book whether or not you can tell that he's an expert at relationships. The whole book revolves around the upper limit problem, and it can be a lot to fully comprehend. Sometimes you might even believe that it's not true because who actually doesn't want to feel happy? Even though we all want to feel happy, that doesn't mean that we can't self-sabotage unknowingly. I highly recommend to keep an open mind and see if there's anything you can relate to. To explain the upper limit theory a bit better, the author used an example from his own life when he was limiting how happy he could be, and I find this is useful because it's personal. He was at a stage where his business was going very well, and his family life was good too. He was experiencing a state of success. However, as soon as he realized that, he remembered that his daughter was away on school camp, and so he manufactured a stream of painful images of everything that could go wrong for her while being on camp simply because he was feeling too good. Some part of him was afraid of enjoying positive energy for any extended period of time. When he reached his upper limit of how much positive feeling he could handle, he created a series of unpleasant thoughts to deflate himself. Maybe for you this process is a bit different, but I can definitely relate to coming up with scary stories when my life is going well, even though I don't have to. The sad thing about the upper limit problem is that when we do imagine scary situations or worst case scenarios, we're immediately brought into a state of fear and anxiety. A lot of us do struggle with feeling good and accepting that feeling. With this, the author suggests that you seriously ask yourself, and you can journal this: am I willing to increase the amount of time every day that I feel good inside? Unless you really don't want to be happy, then I'm going to guess that your answer will be yes. In which case, as you listen to the ideas from this book, why not get willing and just see what happens? Be curious. Maybe you don't think it's possible that you can feel better than you already do on a daily basis. But the author reminds us that we humans have a long and wonderful history of transcending our beliefs about what's possible. I think it's a very true statement. We might think that we could never accomplish a goal, pick up a habit, or stop a bad habit, and yet when we really commit to something, we find that our willpower is stronger than we thought. With that, you could journal this too. What is something you have achieved at some point in your life that you didn't think you could? Whilst the outcome from overcoming the upper limit problem is to feel happier for longer, the author does not suggest that you will never feel bad emotions again. In fact, he says that accepting bad emotions is key to overcoming them. He says that if there's any part of ourselves or our lives that we're not fully willing to accept, we will experience stress and friction in that area. The stress will disappear the moment we accept that part and claim ownership of it. Accept negative emotions, don't resist them. And when you're faced with something like fear, the author says that the best advice he can give us is to take big, easy breaths when we feel fear. Feel the fear instead of pretending it's not there. To go a step further, he says that fear can turn into excitement if you breathe through it. This might sound a little far-fetched, but give it a try and see how it works for you. After all, behind fear and excitement is a sense of anticipation. When you're feeling scared, try to celebrate it with a big breath. Just the way you'd celebrate your birthday by taking a big breath and blowing out all the candles on your cake. Do that and your fear turns into excitement. A part of moving past the upper limit problem is learning to delegate. In other words, do not spend a lot of time on things that you are not good at, that you don't want to be good at, and that someone else is much better at doing. The author says that it's worthwhile to do something you're not good at if the intention is to enjoy it or master it. If you're wanting to learn a challenging skill so that you can learn to be very good at that thing, then by all means, put the time and effort into learning it. However, if you do not want to truly master a skill and it will not really benefit your life to be able to do that thing yourself, then there's no harm in even paying someone to do that thing because they are qualified to do it. On the other hand, the author talks about your zone of genius, which is a space reserved for the things that you do very well or the things that you enjoy. The things that you have no intention of mastering, you are not good at, and you don't enjoy are things that do not fit in your zone of genius. So even if they seem beneficial for other reasons, those requests can eat up a great deal of energy that could be better invested in expressing your genius. Moving forward, a key skill to learn is how to recognize when you're upper limiting yourself. As I said in the beginning, upper limiting is quite an unconscious process, therefore it's difficult to spot at first. The author offers some tips on how to recognize this unconscious process. He says that the crucial sign to show that you're upper limiting is when you're worrying unnecessarily. In other words, you're worrying about something you have no control over. You are in a bad headspace and realistically there's nothing you can actually do to improve the situation. The author goes further and tells us that we should ask ourselves, is it a real possibility? Could this thing that you're worrying about actually happen? Next, ask yourself, is there any action I can take right now to make a positive difference? If that's a no, you're worrying unnecessarily. The author says that he stops this process by letting go of the worry thoughts, shifting his focus away from them. He says that one moment the thoughts have a grip on you, then you suddenly realize it's you who has the grip on them. You release your grip on those thoughts and the thoughts disappear. If you choose to commit to a lifelong pursuit of spotting your upper limit behaviors, you might find that you grow as a person. You reach new heights and you're not brought down by limiting beliefs. In this process, it may appear that you have changed. For example, if you were always someone who was too scared to open up your own business because you were not good with money, or you were too scared to try, and you choose not to limit yourself and give that business a go, you might turn into an entrepreneur who's good with money and who's fairly brave when it comes to making business decisions. You may have to prepare for change, to think of yourself in a different light, and for others to see you differently too. The author says that part of being a grown-up is learning to spot when we're operating out of persona. Part of growing up is discarding the personas that aren't contributing to our happiness and success in life. For example, maybe thinking that you were not good with money kept you safe for a time in your life. But that does not mean that you cannot change. And in fact, if parts of your persona are no longer serving you, you may want to seek that change. A big part of making the leap towards success is understanding that you can enjoy what you do and do very well at it. You may be a bit unclear on how you can make what you enjoy into a job, or how you can bring what you enjoy into what you already do. To give you some clarity around this, the author suggests that you find some answers to this question. What could you do every day without getting bored? I know that I could talk about healthy lifestyle behaviors all day and not get bored. I also know that I love learning and that I'll never really feel like I've learned enough and should stop trying to improve myself. Weirdly enough, I also enjoy talking in front of people. As you ask yourself this question, weird and wonderful things may come to mind, just as it did for me. As you notice the activities that come up for you, you realize that it's no accident. These things that you enjoy and that you may or may not have an aptitude for are the things that you are uniquely suited to do, which can serve your highest purpose in life. Write these activities down and see if you can spend more time doing them. This is how you will remain in your zone of genius. I think that the real message behind this book is that you can have all that you want. You can have a good relationship, a job that you enjoy, and free time whereby you spend time doing what makes you even more happy and revitalized. It's possible to find an equilibrium, and you do not have to settle for less than what makes you absolutely happy. Many of us think that we can't have it all, that we must be struggling in some aspect of our lives to feel normal. But let success be your normal. Open your mind and commit to stopping yourself from self-sabotaging behaviors if and when they come up. The author has a mantra that you can take with you and repeat daily to refresh these ideas. I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. The author says that this mantra is an antidote to years of conditioning, the ancient programming that convinced your unconscious mind you don't deserve full success. By repeating this sentence to yourself and taking action steps that prove that you are worthy of full success, you may be surprised by what you are capable of. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. However, I do admit that the ideas behind this book may need time before you can fully believe in them. It feels almost radical that we can choose to be successful in every area of our lives. At the same time, if this is something we are prepared to be committed to, I think it's worth trying to prove it to yourself through action. As the author says, these upper limiting behaviors have been programmed in our minds from a young age. Therefore, it may even be challenging to agree that we are in control of our success at all times. If you do need convincing, please do pick up this book because he has many real life examples that help you understand these ideas better. I hope you enjoyed this book and the ideas that this author put forward. I really enjoyed it. It's a very inspiring book and it motivates you to get up and get going on things that matter to you. So sit with these ideas. The more you think about them, the more that they make sense.